Today, we're here to find out which one of these Vanguards is the absolute best in Marvel Rivals. We have 3 different categories: damage, movement, and survivability, with multiple events in each category for them to test their abilities against, where some of the results might shock you. Points will be given to the contestants depending on how well they did in the event, where first place gets 10 points, second gets 8, third will get 6, fourth gets 5, all the way down to 8th place only getting 1 point. So you really want to make sure you've brought your A game. And yes, I did say 8, as Bruce Banner and the Hulk will be competing separately. At the end of the last event, we'll count up all their points to figure out who is truly the best Vanguard in Marvel Rivals, and to see who will represent the Vanguards in the biggest tournament of the year featuring all the roles from the game. Without further ado, let's get into it. The first category our competitors will be taking on is the damage category, where the first event is called Back to the Basics, where our contestants will be seeing who can knock out our dummy the fastest using only their basic attacks. In the starting block first, we have none other than the Green Machine himself, Hulk, whose weapon of choice is his bare hands, using them to beat down the dummy's health, clocking him in at a solid 9.09 seconds. Next up is the master of the mystical arts, Dr. Strange, who uses those arts to slowly drain the life of our dummy, coming in at 9.27 seconds. And here comes Venom making quick work, using his headshot multiplier, clocking in at 5.79 seconds. Here to show off the strength of nature is our next contestant, Groot, using those vine punches to clock in at 9.12 seconds. Now fans, hold on to your keys with this next contestant, utilizing the power of magnetism to bring the dummy down in just 8.19 seconds. Now she might be one of the youngest competitors in this competition, but don't count her out just yet, as Penny Parker comes in, knocking down the dummy in only 9.49 seconds. And this wouldn't be a competition to find the best without this man Thor, coming in as an obvious crowd favorite, using the power of his hammer Mjolnir to bring our dummy down in just 10.49 seconds. That concludes the first event of many. Let's jump in and see how the contestants did in the event. And what a start to our competition it has been, with Bruce Banner taking home the gold, coming in at a time of 4.87 seconds, clocking in 164 damage per second. Wow, if that little guy keeps it up, there might be a new definition for tank characters. Following close behind him though was Venom, who came in with a strong 5.79 seconds, clocking in 138 damage per second. This symbiote has came to play and is not joking around. If we head to the bottom of the list, it's Thor. A little disappointing with that 10.49 second performance and only 76 damage per second. Hopefully he can pick it up in the next event, which is starting right now. The second event of the damage category is called Wombo Combo, where our contestants will be showing their best combination of their abilities to see who can defeat our dummy the fastest without using ultimates. First up is the first place of the last event, Bruce Banner, who doesn't have much when it comes to abilities, but is able to utilize those headshot multipliers to clock in at a solid 8.22 seconds. Next up, we have Dr. Strange, who starts with utilizing his mystical powers, then releases some dark magic and finishes off the dummy with a few more basic attacks. And here comes the Hulk, ready to smash, starting off with a nice clap, then transitioning into basic attacks, taking down the dummy in 9.37 seconds. And here's someone who's looking to make it on the podium again. Venom strikes, dealing a lot of damage with those headshot multipliers, clocking in at 7.27 seconds. Groot uses his walls and a few basic attacks to take the dummy down in 2.27 seconds. Here, it looks like Magneto is using his sword granted from his team up with Scarlet Witch to knock down the dummy in only 5.62 seconds. Penny has decided to use her spider nest and some of her mines to take down the dummy in only 3.97 seconds. Last up is Thor, here to make up for that 8th place finish in the first event, knocking the dummy out in only 5.19 seconds. That closes out the second event to the damage category, Now taking a look at the results, we have Groot in first, who managed to knock out the dummy in only 2.27 seconds. That's 352 damage per second. In second was Penny Parker, who had a time slightly under 4 seconds with a 3.97 and coming in with 201 damage per second. Nearing the bottom of the list, in 7th was Doctor Strange with 9.27 seconds and Hulk with 9.37. Not the fastest, but managed to stay under 10 seconds. And it looks like Thor was able to recover, managing a 3rd place with a 5.19 second finish, dealing 159 damage per second. Let's see if he can keep that up in the next event. The last event of the damage category is called Ultimate Showdown, where the Vanguards must start by using their ultimate and then utilizing the rest of their abilities to defeat our dummy. And look who's more eager than the rest is Thor, stepping up to the plate first. And look at the God of Thunder go, slamming down, causing massive damage to our dummy, finishing it off with lightning blades, clocking in at 6.37. Up next is Magneto, who sends in a ball of metal, then whips out the sword to slash and dash him to secure a 6.97. Now it's time for the symbiote to shine, coming up with his headshot multiplier, clocking in at a solid 4.47. Now we have Groot, who chucks the seed and does so much damage, clocking in at 2.19. Now Hulk has something to say about that quick number from Groot, transforming into a bigger version of himself, slamming the dummy around, coming in at a 10.52. Hopefully Penny doesn't disappoint like Hulk, and oh my gosh, 1.89? I'm so shocked by what I just saw right now, I can barely pay attention to Doctor Strange, who just released his Eye of Agamotto, dealing basic attack damage, coming in at a 9.57. And with the end of that madness comes the end of our final event of the damage category. Now, let's take a look at what the results were. And it looks like Penny Parker comes out with a crazy sub 2 seconds to secure the gold. Hold on one second, I'm having something confirmed by the judges who are saying that that was one of the most impressive performances they have seen in this competition. Groot's time would have for sure secured him a 1st place finish if it wasn't for Penny Parker coming in out of nowhere with that performance, disappointing from Hulk's performance with all that bulk and little power to show for it. The judges have finished up adding up all the points from the damage category events, and here's what the leaderboard is looking like so far. Leading the group is Groot with 22 points, Venom and Penny both tied at 18, Magneto and Bruce Banner coming in with 15 points, Thor at 12, Doctor Strange with 8, and rearing at the back is Hulk with 7 points. Looking at the leaderboard so far, who are you most shocked by?
I'd have to say the Hulk has been the biggest shocker for me. Usually, he's known for his smashing strength, so it's a little weird to see him at the bottom with the least amount of points coming out of the damage category.
I know, it hasn't been a great start, but hopefully he can pick it up as the competition continues. Well, let's not keep the competitors waiting any longer and transition to the movement category, where our first event is called Morning Stroll. The contestants will have to get from point A to point B by using only their base movement speed. And starting us off is the points leader, Groot. And there he goes, slowly but surely clocking in at a 9.47. Next up, we have Penny Parker, who's rushing down the line gracefully, coming in at an 8.72. Now it's time to see what Thor can do, using those almighty legs to get him to the finish line, coming in at a solid 8.72. At the starting block next is Magneto, here to show that he doesn't skip leg day, clocking in at an 8.82. Next up is the Green Machine, showing what that gamma radiation can do, getting him an 8.79. And Doctor Strange is here to show us that he doesn't need the mystical arts to get where he needs to go, clocking in at an 8.89. Time for the most caked up competitor, Venom, who comes in using those strong legs, clocking in at 8.79. Rounding out the competition is Bruce Banner, using those scrawny legs to push him to the finish line, clocking him in at a solid 8.97. With that is the end of the event, so let's check in on the final results. And it looks like there's a tie for 1st place. Penny Parker and Thor both came in at an 8.72, tying for first place. But that's not all. Hulk and Venom tie for third with an 8.79, and unfortunately, Groot comes in last with a 9.47, rounding out 8th place. Now, who would have expected that the competition would be this close? Multiple ties have occurred in the first event of the movement category, but I don't think that will be the case when we move on to the second event, which looks like it's ready to begin. This event is called Race to the Finish, where the competitors can use any abilities at their disposal to make it to the other side the fastest. Standing by is our first competitor, who came in 5th at the last event, Magneto. And he's off. He doesn't have much when it comes to movement abilities, but he's trying his best using his shields to hope that they make him go faster, rounding out at 8.77 seconds. Next up is Hulk, who uses those giant muscles to leap through the air to get a clean 5.12 seconds. What's this? Bruce Banner's backwards? Oh, and he uses his grenade to propel himself to the finish line, clocking in at a solid 8.69 seconds. And we're in for a treat as Doctor Strange wants to showcase some of his mystical powers of teleportation, and he gets the teleporter placed, and he's opening it, and it's coming in for a close 9.62 seconds. Since Groot doesn't have a lot of options for mobility, he's deciding to jump his way to the finish line, and it seems like it's going to work out for him as he comes in with an 8.72. Venom is anticipated to do well here by the analysts, and he doesn't disappoint by grabbing a 3.07. We have two heavy hitters back to back as we have Thor using Mjolnir to fly across the floor to get a 5.12 second finish. Last, we have Penny, who uses her webs to fling herself across the arena, landing a time of 5.02 seconds. That finishes the second event of the movement category, and now here are the results. Venom takes first with 3.07 seconds, with Penny Parker not far behind with a 5.02. Unfortunately, those shields didn't help Magneto out too much, landing him a 7th place with an 8.77, and I guess teleportation isn't always the fastest way to travel around the galaxy, landing Doctor Strange in 8th place with a 9.42. Now, the last event of the movement category is called Rise and Shine, where our contestants will have to rise to the occasion by climbing up this building and seeing if they can make it to this rooftop without touching the ground. Abilities can be used, but ultimates will not be allowed. This will be a little different than the other events, as the judges will be keeping track of the amount of time it takes to make it to the top of the roof, then how long it takes to make it to the other rooftop, as well as the total amount of time it takes for them to get from the ground to the final rooftop, and score them by points. So, if you managed to get first on all 3 parts, then you would end up with 30 points. Only got first on the vertical part, and third on the other 2, you'd get 22 points. Make sense? No? Oh well. It looks like Doctor Strange has something to prove, moving swiftly up to the roof in only 2.62 seconds. He then assesses the situation and decides to use his teleporter to cross the gap and reach the other rooftop, coming in at a total of 14.29 seconds. Next up, we have Hulk, who soars to the top of the rooftop in only 3.69 seconds. Then he analyzes and decides to go for another leap to the other rooftop and goes for it and misses, calling for a DNF. I hope you didn't take your eyes off the screen because Groot is about to shock everyone in the arena. First, by making up the building in only 10.59 seconds, but just watch how he strategically uses his walls to make a bridge to the other rooftop, clocking in a total time of 59.92 seconds. It might have been slow, but he gets the job done. After that impressive performance is Thor, who manages to reach the top of the building in 3.99 seconds, and is already preparing to make a dash for the next rooftop, and he barely makes it, ending with a total time of 13.67 seconds. Venom is very familiar with these city setting tests, getting up the building in 4.62 seconds, and he manages a quick swing to the other rooftop, getting a total time of 10.12 seconds. Penny Parker is next, climbing the wall with finesse in 4.09 seconds. Then she makes her way to one of the webs she has on the wall, quickly detaching herself and then propelling herself to the other rooftop in a total time of 15.52 seconds. As you can see, both Bruce Banner and Magneto can't even make it up the vertical wall, thus leading to a DNF for the entire event for both of them. That ends the Rise and Shine event, and here are the results. Venom sneaks by in first place, with Doctor Strange and Thor closely behind, tied for second. Unfortunately, like I said before, Bruce Banner and Magneto weren't able to actually even make it up the wall, concluding to a DNF, so they don't get any points for the event. Now that the last event has finished, the judges will tally up all the points from the movement category, and as they do that, I'm here with Steph, the coach of Penny Parker. So tell me, how has Penny trained for this event?
Well, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and I can tell you that she wakes up early in the morning working on her craft, and sometimes it's even tough to get her to take a break or stop. She's always putting 110% in everything she does.
She sounds like a hard worker, and it looks like it's finally paying off, as she's ending the category with 23 points, just 3 behind Venom and Thor. And because of that lackluster performance from Magneto and Bruce in that last event, they only scored 7 points in the category. And this obviously wasn't the strong suit for Groot. Hopefully he picks it up in the next category. These points will be added to the ones they got from the damage category, but we're not done just yet. We need to see which one of these Vanguards is the toughest in the survivability category. Now, being able to survive can mean a lot of things, but not being able to get hit is very crucial in Marvel Rivals. So, the first event isn't necessarily an event, but a weigh-in. The judges have taken the measurements of all the contenders and they have ranked them from smallest to biggest to start off the survivability category. And the results are as follows. Groot came in 8th, being the largest out of all the Vanguards, and luckily the small stature of Bruce Banner allowed him to come in first place. Things weren't too bad for Doctor Strange and Thor, who both managed podium spots by keeping strict diets and consistent exercise. The second event of the survivability category is called Touch of Death. Trust me, it's not as frightening as it sounds, as our competitors will see how long it takes before they get knocked out by our guest celebrity, Scarlet Witch. The longer you last, the better you score, starting with Doctor Strange, who holds out for quite a while, not letting the pain get to him, lasting for 9.59 seconds. Next, we have Penny, who has spent the last year doing mental training with her coach Steph, getting 9.39 seconds. Bruce Banner can barely hold on, reaching 2.82 seconds. Fear not, as the competition is about to heat up with Groot, using his connection to nature to hold out for 12.19 seconds. The Green Machine is back, using his bulky muscles to maintain a solid 11.57 seconds. Here to prove Asgardian's true might, Thor stands tall and doesn't falter for 8.49 seconds. Up next is Venom, who's hoping to stay level-headed and not fall victim to his anger, which gives him a clear path to get 11.52 seconds. Last up is Magneto, trying to utilize his armor to reduce some of the effects of Scarlet Witch's attacks, but only manages to reach 9.47 seconds. Some strong finishes from our competitors. That wraps up the second event of the survivability category, and here are the results. Venom and Hulk had good showings, both coming in at about 11.50 seconds, but it was Groot who took the show, standing tall and firm at 12.19 seconds. And to no one's surprise, Bruce was not able to keep up with the rest of the competition. You could say it might make him a little angry. Okay, sorry about that. Moving on to the last event of the survivability category, we have Staying Alive, where the competitors will need to do all that they can to not be knocked out. They are allowed to use their abilities, but ultimates are not allowed, and you may not run away, as this is a test of might and not a test of cat and mouse. Up first on the chopping block is Venom, who starts off by using a swing to avoid some damage, and manages to utilize his symbiote adaptability to stay strong. And just when you think he's out, he comes back with a whole other health bar, allowing him to last for 17.87 seconds. Up next is Penny, who's hoping for a solid placement in this last event. Using her webs to keep her alive with some self-healing, she drops her spider nest to break away from the damage and heal. But it only works as a small distraction, as she makes it to 22.59 seconds. So far, leading the pack in the longest time. Bruce is looking for a miracle here, but it just won't be today, clocking in at 3.17 seconds. This is the last chance for the God of Thunder to really show off what he's capable of. A good showing here can be what sends him to the big leagues. a solid time of 14.29 seconds. But will it be enough? We'll just have to find out. Doctor Strange has had some ups and downs throughout the competition, but hopefully using his shield, he can score a decent time. Everything is off to a good start, and with his shield broken, he's able to take flight, landing him a solid 22.22 seconds. The favorite to win this event, Groot not only has the health, but the ability to create walls, stopping any sort of damage for multiple seconds. But just how long will he hold down? It seems like Scarlet Witch is finally breaking through his barriers, and it looks like he stood strong for an impressive 33.49 seconds. Magneto has been near the bottom of the pack most of the tournament, but maybe with an impressive score like Groot, he could make the leap to the top. And it looks like it won't be beating out the walking tree, but it's a solid 15.59 seconds. And finally, our last competitor, the Green Machine, aka Hulk. He uses his shield and stun to prolong his time, but it doesn't look good as he's starting to fade, and quickly, clocking in at 17.37 seconds. With that, the last event of the competition has wrapped up, and here are the results of it. Groot takes first place comfortably, being 10 full seconds above second and third place. But the real battle was between second and third place, between Penny and Doctor Strange, where Doctor Strange was just 0.3 of a second from beating Penny Parker. And of course, it's sad to see, but we have to say it. Bruce Banner just could not survive and couldn't keep up with everybody, coming in at 3.17 seconds in 8th place. Unfortunately, the 14.12 seconds Magneto brought wasn't enough and got him a 7th place standing. Now that all the events for the survivability category are finished, here are the point totals of all the competitors. Coming in first place is Groot with 21 points. Close behind in second was Doctor Strange with 19 points. In third was Venom with 15. Penny Parker and Hulk tied for fourth with 14 points. Bruce Banner beat out Magneto and Thor with 12 points, where Magneto and Thor landed with 11, tied for 7th. Now, before we get to the final point total of all 3 categories, here's a quick message from our sponsor. Nah, I'm just kidding with you guys. In all seriousness, what you all been waiting for. In third place, coming in with 51 points, standing more firm than any tree I've ever seen, is Groot. In second place, working hard not just for herself, but her coach as well, is Penny Parker. Finally, they have the power of 100 men, tougher than a wall of vibranium. The winner, with 59 points and the undeniable best Vanguard in Marvel Rivals, Venom. These 3 will be taking their talents and testing them out against the best from the other 2 roles in the ultimate matchup of the year. And if you're wondering, here's how the rest of the group panned out. It was a close competition, but Groot managed to squeeze into the top 3 barely over Thor by just a few points. And it wasn't the best showing from Magneto, who was one of the favorites coming into this. Now, I'm definitely impressed with Bruce Banner, who managed to keep up with all the behemoths in this group. Since Thor managed to get 4th place, he will be competing in a showcase with the other 4th place holders from the Strategist group and Duelist group to see who will be our wild card in the big tournament. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like and subscribe to the channel to see how the other groups will fare and to see the big tournament that's coming up.